You ever look at all of Elon Musk's companies, Tesla, SpaceX, XAI, and wonder if there's a single unifying plan behind it all? What if a chip factory in Texas, some robots in orbit, and a crazy plan to harness a star are all just different pieces of the same, well, galactic blueprint? Today, let's connect those dots. It really all kicks off with this unbelievably ambitious goal. Not just a multiplanetary species, but a galactic civilization. You have to understand, this is the end game. This is the why that drives everything else we're about to talk about. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but this is the vision they're trying to make real. Okay, it's an epic vision for sure. No one's denying that. But a vision without a plan, that's just a daydream. So how do you actually get from where we are right now to a civilization that's hopping between stars? I mean, where do you even begin a project that monumental? Well, the answer isn't some giant spaceship or a massive colony on Mars. The journey to the stars, at least according to this blueprint, begins with something you can literally hold in the palm of your hand. It all starts with a single, perfectly engineered piece of silicon. And that brings us to the very first layer of this whole plan, a project they're calling Terafab. Now, this is not just another factory. You have to think of it as the essential seed crystal, the starting point from which this entire galactic civilization is designed to grow. So what is Terafab? It's a massive, vertically integrated chip factory. That means everything from design to fabrication happens right there under one roof. The stated goal is to pump out 1 terawatt of computing power every single year. And to put that number in perspective for you, all the factories on Earth combined produce maybe 2% of that. It's a mind-boggling leap in production. But here's where it gets really interesting. Terafab isn't just making one kind of chip. It's making 2. The first kind is for us, here on Earth. You know, powering the AI and cars and robots. But the second kind, these D3 space-grade chips, are built totally different. They're radiation-hardened, designed for the brutal environment of space. And this is where our story takes a sharp turn away from our planet. Because the true priority becomes crystal clear right here. A staggering 80%. 80% of all that computing power isn't for Earth at all. It's slated to be launched directly into orbit. Which, of course, brings up a huge question. Why on Earth would you send the vast majority of your most advanced AI chips into space? And this is the part where all those different companies start to click together like Lego bricks. We're moving from the what, the chip, to the how and the where. We're talking about the logistics of building a massive industrial base, not on Earth, but up there, in orbit. The process is actually a pretty simple 3-step loop. First, Terafab cranks out the chips and the robots. Second, SpaceX's Starship hauls them all up into orbit. And third, the robots get to work on their own, building and expanding all the infrastructure that's needed up there. I mean, this is the key question, isn't it? It sounds incredibly expensive, super complicated. Why go through all that trouble, launching billions of chips and a whole army of robots into orbit, when we have plenty of empty space right here on the ground? Well, the whole rationale really boils down to some pretty basic physics and economics. First off, space is a perfect, totally free coolant, no overheating issues. You also get unfiltered sunlight, giving you at least 5 times more solar power. And here's the kicker. Once Starship makes launch costs almost zero, it could actually become cheaper to run these massive data centers in space. Plus, you've got robots that can use resources from the moon and asteroids to just build more of themselves. So, okay, we've got a self-expanding factory in space. But what is it ultimately for? And this is where the scale of this whole vision just explodes, from Earth's orbit to the entire solar system. See, they're not just building data centers. They're building a power plant on a scale that humanity has never even dreamed of. The ultimate goal of this orbital factory is to build what's called a Dyson Swarm. Now, forget what you've seen in the movies. This isn't some solid shell around the sun. It's way more practical. It's a massive, massive constellation of individual solar collectors, all orbiting the sun, capturing its energy and beaming it wherever it's needed. So to really get a handle on the kind of power we're talking about, let's just use a super conservative model. Let's imagine a really, really crappy swarm that only captures 0.1% of the sun's total energy. It sounds like a tiny, insignificant fraction, right? Well, that tiny little fraction of the sun's power is enough to continuously accelerate 20 times billion metric tons of mass at 1G. That's like taking almost 4,000 Great Pyramids of Giza and just pushing them constantly. It's absolutely insane. Even a wildly inefficient Dyson Swarm gives you a level of power that is basically godlike. So, what do you do with a virtually unlimited energy budget? I mean, yeah, you could power colonies, you could travel to other stars, but this blueprint suggests an even more profound use for all that juice, using that energy to think on a cosmic scale. And that leads us to the theoretical peak of this whole project, something called a Matrioshka Brain. So, imagine using all the energy from that Dyson Swarm to power a supercomputer so vast it's actually built in nested layers around the sun itself. We're talking about a computer the size of a solar system. And the purpose of a machine like that, well, it's described as nothing less than creating a technological god, an AI so powerful it could simulate entire planetary systems, the dance of stars, maybe even the very fabric of the universe itself. This is the ultimate expression of a civilization that has totally mastered the energy of its home star. Okay, let's zoom all the way back out. It's a lot to take in. How do we really get from a chip factory in Texas to a computer that's literally wrapped around the sun? The thing is, this whole blueprint is built layer by careful layer. And this is basically the dependency stack. The grand vision is what justifies building Terafab. Terafab's chips are what enable the robots in space. Those robots are what build the Dyson Swarm, and that swarm's incredible energy is what powers the Matrioshka Brain. You see, each step is an absolute prerequisite for the next one. You can't skip a step. This really puts our current situation in perspective. There's this thing called the Kardashev Scale, which measures a civilization by how much energy it uses. Right now, humanity is like a type 0.73. We haven't even figured out how to use all the energy on our own planet yet. That Dyson Swarm, that's the key to becoming a type 2 civilization, one that's completely mastered its star. And making that leap, well, that's the central goal of this whole thing. So after this entire wild journey to the stars and back, we actually end up right where we began. And the critical insight, the one thing to really take away from all this, is that the humble semiconductor, that tiny little chip, is the seed crystal for this entire civilizational project. It powers the robots that build the swarm that powers the cosmic brain. Without that first chip, none of the other layers even get off the ground. And that just leaves us with one final pretty profound question to chew on. This entire roadmap, from a single chip all the way to the stars, leads to the creation of an intelligence that could potentially understand the universe. If we ever actually build it, what in the world would be the first thing we ask it?